Firewood is one of the least convenient heating sources. Time and energy is needed to cut, split, and stack your firewood in preparation for the winter. Not to mention all the time spent starting and maintaining your fires. This week on Wood Heat Wednesday, I thought I would share why I love wood heat so much.
Your chance to learn how to save the Earth and be a Planeteer. The power is yours!
I've grown up in a time where there's always been a discussion around the impact that humans have had on the Earth, and more specifically, the impact that the Industrial Revolution has had. Now, there's no such thing as a perfect heating source. You can find flaws in all of them, even greener sources like wind and solar.
The parent company of a Zhejiang solar panel factory is promising to do whatever is necessary to clean up its toxic chemical problems.
Because wind farms are killing more than 1,000 birds a day.
It's not inconceivable to me that we could reduce golden eagle populations by a great deal, if not wipe them out.
With green fuel sources, including firewood, something goes wrong, it is so minor. Maybe a log falls off your trailer, maybe you spill your bar oil, but nothing compared to nuclear or fossil fuels.
It took a full 18 days before the Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev made any public pronouncement on the nuclear disaster returnable.
It's already the largest oil spill in U.S. history. The tanker Exxon Valdez, gouged by a reef, more than 8.5 million gallons poured into Prince William Sound, a prime fishing and recreation area.
Massive oil spill in the Gulf, which is now 130 miles long, 70 miles wide. High winds, waves driving it closer to Louisiana, which has declared a state of emergency, along with Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, where the oil could reach by Monday. Cost of this cleanup could top $12.5 billion. That's not counting losses to the fishing and tourism industry. And our Matt got
Mankind has been heating and cooking with firewood for over 1.5 million years. And even with today's modern advances in technology, according to a 2010 census, more than 2.4 million households still use wood as their primary heat today. Even with all the advances, firewood is still considered one of the greenest heating sources. Firewood is a carbon-neutral fuel source. Whether it rots in the woods or burns in your stove, it has the same carbon footprint. Now, some fossil fuels are often used when cutting and transporting firewood, but it's often very minimal since it's being done locally. Firewood is also a renewable resource. It seems to be the gift that keeps on giving. It seems like every time there's a storm, it's time to pull out the saw again. I remember reading this article about this guy that wanted to be sufficient for his fuel source but had no trees on his property. That first year he planted 1 acre of hybrid poplars and continued to plant an acre each year after that. Reaching the 8th year he went back and harvested that first acre, and that was his fuel source for the winter. Then replanted those trees and had this continuous renewable resource of fuel. Oftentimes with firewood, you're not dependent on electricity, or more specifically, if your stove's located inside your house. Even with a stove like ours that uses an electric blower to help distribute some of that heat a little more evenly, we're still able to put ours into a power outage mode. With heat naturally rising, we're able to heat our house just fine. Firewood also tends to be a much more stable and cheaper fuel source than others. Or you could say, it's not controlled by the man.
Who?
The man! Oh, you don't know the man? Oh, well, he's everywhere. In the White House, down the hall, Miss Mullins, she's the man.
For me, watching a fire brings me back to my childhood. It fills me with warm memories, makes me feel like I'm connecting with past generations. I can't help but wonder if there's something built into us that just relaxes us watching a fire. I think that could be a good reason you oftentimes see fireplace videos trending over Christmas break. In fact, there has been a study done by University of Alabama that found people sitting and watching a fire crackle had a 5% decrease in blood pressure. The longer they watched, the more relaxed they got. Now, heating with firewood is not perfect, but I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons. It has a positive impact on the environment. By purchasing your firewood locally, it helps your community. It's a renewable resource. There's something very soothing and relaxing about watching a fire. It's there whether you have power or not, and there's just something so special about it.